the last half of this session, we'll go over the database development and CI/CD solutions in Visual Studio 2017 and the Visual Studio Team Services. All right, let's get started. So, what is DevOps? DevOps is about people, product, process that can easily collaborate together to innovate faster and continuously deliver the value. Then what is the inhibitor of the collaboration? One of the major factors is high expertise as barrier between dev and test, DBAs, and ops. Then how can it lower the barrier? It's through the great platform like a SQL Server and tools and services that can make things easier, convenient, and efficient. CI/CD automation using VSTS is a good example. So, we have been putting efforts to enable seamless collaboration for many years. So we can say it is not new. Nowadays, the advancement of platform, tools, services are so efficient, and now we can give it a name, DevOps. Let's take a look at the SQL Server 2017 first. It has cool new features like a graph data support, machine learning with R and Python, native T-SQL scoring, and adaptive query processing and automatic plan correction. This is exciting. And it has been, and it is the most secure RDBMS for 7 years in a row. Most important and earth-shaking change is SQL Server 2000 supports both Windows and Linux. I'd like to highlight that the SQL Server runs in a Docker container. It's exciting. The Docker image for SQL Server 2017 has been so popular, and now it has more than 2 million pulls. Then why Docker container? It is fast to deploy, portable, and predictable. Using Docker container, you can easily build high-scale, high-density container cluster platform. So for ops, we can easily automate the synchronization of dev, test, and production environments. For devs, it makes us super productive, and no more saying it does not reproduce on my machine, while the app and database is failing in production or on a customer's machine. All right. Perhaps you have seen this flow diagram already, right? For application development, CI/CD is a very popular practice, and it's an important practice in DevOps nowadays. It starts with a code repository. Source codes are built and tested, and then it's deployed and monitored. For bugs and the new feature improvements, developers write codes and then check it into a code repository. Then the cycle repeats and continues. Then how does it work for a database? We have seen SQL Server 2017 as a platform. It is great. To complete the story for DevOps, you will need the tools and services, as I mentioned. First, you need an IDE or an excellent editor to build a solution. And you will need the CLI tools and APIs to orchestrate and automate your solution in CI/CD pipeline. When we talk about SQL tools family, it's not just about tools and services that Microsoft builds and releases. Embrace open source community if it is suitable for your needs, such as T-SQL and Slacker as database unit testing framework, which is great. Altogether, lower the barrier and empower your DevOps practice. Before we go a deep dive, let's take a look at the portfolio of SQL tools that will help you to enable and empower DevOps practice. Now, SQL Operations Studio, which is a new tool that runs on Windows, Mac OS, and Linux, is public preview, which is great. Excellent news for during this Connect event. It is designed for and has a vision for developers and ops. As I mentioned, CLI tools are very important to enable CI and CD. Let's take a look at those tools a little bit. MS SQL Tools, which is a SQL command and BCP, which has been around a long time, now runs natively on Windows, Mac OS, and Linux. MS SQL Scripter is new which is basically command line version of scripting wizard in SSMS, which is very familiar to you guys, that can dump out schema and data in SQL scripts. I'm going to demo this tool a little bit in the later demo, which has a great scenarios that you can utilize. MS SQL CLI is an interactive version of SQL command that executes ad hoc queries with a T-SQL intelligence. Most importantly, in a service terminal, which typically don't have a support for GUI. SQL package is a tool to deploy database changes and migrate database between on-prem and clouds. It was only available for Windows. Now it is coming for Linux and Mac OS as well. For APIs, SQL supports most of major programming language and frameworks. Note that Small, which is a SQL Server management object, is now available for Windows, Linux, and Mac OS. It is an initial release version with a partial object type support, but it will grow to reach 101 parity with the Small on Windows version. With that, we will enable SQL PowerShell, which is called the SQL PS, in multi-OS version. Also, DACFX is coming in multi-OS version in near future, which is all exciting news. All right. Using SQL Server 2017, SQL Tools, and VSTS, let's build a CI/CD pipeline. When CI/CD comes to data, we have multiple aspects to consider. First, there is a production, and there is a development environment, and in between, there is a production environment. Typically, we call production and pre-production as a production data plane, and the development environment goes with a sanitized data plane. So how it works? Usually, when new sprint starts, we prepare dev and test environments. And the dev test environments consumes developers consumes the dev and test environments. They either bug fixes or improve the feature and check in the change. And we run continuous integration, running the check-in test, which is mostly unit testing. And we run the scheduled testing, and we repeat. And once the sprint finishes it, then the change goes to pre-production environment. And in the pre-production, we also run the test, like integration testing, workload testing, performance testing. And once it is done, then we deploy it. We continuously repeat this cycle on and on in the database as well. So let's take a look at demo. In this demo, I'm going to show first the CI build for dev and test environment, and using VSTS, Docker, SQL CLI tools. How I'm going to show you how you can automate that. Let's take a look at it. All right. Here I have a VSTS project, which is called the SQL Ops container. I have one build definition. Let me open it. So when there is a new sprint starts, as ops or admin, my role is to come and start a new build. All right. It's popping up. So there is a little bit of an internet delay, so let's wait a bit, and it will pop up pretty soon. So basically what I'm going to show you is that I have a build definition that automates a data sanitization of your SQL database. And also I can define the version of SQL Server instance, which is SQL Server 2017, a version of the CU and patches, all that together, and build it as Docker image. How can I do that? It's just to come to this Visual Studio Team Service and click this one button, Queue New Build. By clicking this one button and queue the build, it starts. All right? So it's a provisioning. OK, it's already started. And it will build a Docker image and push this Docker image for dev and test to consume in dev and test environment. Let me tell you what I'm doing to build this image. Okay, let's take a look. It is pretty simple three-step process. First one is getting the source. All my source code is in the VSTS. So it pulls down using Git. It pulls down source code, and then run 1, 2, 3 steps. First step is basically log into my Docker image repository. Right now, it is Azure Container Registry. It's very simple, one-liner. And then the second step is the real one. It basically does Docker build, sanitize the data, and push the image for our team. And the last step is basically cleaning up the agent. So the second step is the key task that we are automating here. So let me show you what it is. So I'm opening up SQL Operations Studio here. And the script that I'm calling as part of my VSTS CI operation was this, build docker push and demo.sh. So first it pulls Microsoft MS SQL Server Linux. That was typo. Latest, it just pulls down Docker image and spin up a container with that Docker image. And then I run sanitize process. And then using that, I just commit my container into an image and then push it. So what is the sanitization? It is also very simple script here. As I mentioned, anything that you can run in command line or script can be automated. So here I'm running SQL command to restore our database, which is coming from the pre-production or production database backup. I'm using wide world importers sample database. So I restore it and then run dynamic data masking using SQL command. And here, using MS SQL scripter, I dump out all the schema of our, let's say, the SQL Server wide world importers database running in our Docker container using a user which does not have unmask permission. That means I'm basically pulling out the data and then the schema with a low privileged user. So dynamic, the data that is masked with the dynamic data masking is now obfuscated. To do that, I'm using the BCP tool and just pull out the reference data. And then I push it back into a new database that it will be created using the T-SQL script that we just dumped with MS SQL scripter. It sounds like a little bit complex, but it's really simple steps. And then just script out data, and then create a database, and push the database back. And now the database that is created using this one is all obfuscated. So this is what I'm doing. So every sprint, I'm actually running the whole process by just clicking one button in Visual Studio Team Service, which is the beauty. And then as an ops, I can fully synchronize our dev, test, and production environment in this way. Okay. Now let's look at the dev's perspective. As a dev, I just opened up SQL Operations Studio in my project folder. So I'm pressing Control tilde. That opens up the integrated terminal in the SQL Ops Studio. And what I can do is that I can use the Docker image that our ops team has produced and spin up my SQL Server database along with my application and unit test container all together. Right? This is the Docker compose.yml that I'm going to use. So it's part of my project setup. So any project team member, developers, can simply do Docker compose up-d. It will create a database. Sorry, there was an issue, so let me do it one more time. All right, this time it was successful. So by just running Docker compose up, my web application, test environment, and my database, everything is up and running. Let me show you. So if I go to Object Explorer in Servers View-Let, here I have test environment that is running, which is another Docker container. The original image of wide world importers was about 3 GB. And this instance is what we just created using Docker Compose. All right, the database file size is 80 megabytes. So using the VSTS CI process, we can actually create the whole dev and test environment in automated fashion and do the data sanitization through data masking, and also reduce the database size to just to contain the reference tables so that the dev and test team can start working on it. Great. I go back to integrated terminal. Because I have, if I run Docker PS, I have everything is running, including my unit test. So as a dev, I can just run my test in that environment. It's just the SQL Server instance just started, so it may take a little bit of time to query. What I'm doing is that I ran the unit test. Let me do one more time. And there is a test failure. That means as a developer, I have a job to do. Go and then debug and then fix the bug, which is great. All right, so we just saw that how you can effectively use the SQL Server 2017 in Docker container, and also automate creating the Docker image build through VSTS's beautiful CI automation capability, using all the SQL tools and services that we provide as part of the SQL Server family. So using that one, you can build your own solution and automate it. Okay, now in the next part, let's take a look at the then database development in Visual Studio 2017. Okay. So in Visual Studio 2017, it's great that we have multiple choices in different flavors. One is ORM. It is very popular, like an entity framework. It is very popular for application developers for its fast and simple way to bootstrap a database from application model. So it is very, very easy startup, which is a good choice. And you can also choose a path with a migration-based database development. And the ReadyRoll database project provides a fantastic support for it. I'm going to go through this database project in the demo. So let's look at the all together. Or you can choose a path with a state-based database development with SSDT database project. All right? So let's look at it together to understand what are these. In this session, I will run a demo for migration-based and state-based database projects in Visual Studio 2017. And then I'll run through how to enable CICD using VSTS based on this database project. So while I'm doing the demo, if you have any question, please ask the question. At the end of this the session, we will go through those questions and answer your questions. Okay, so now this time, I'm opening up Visual Studio 2017. So after you go to Visual Studio 2017 and start your first solution, it's simple. Go to your solution and right-click and add a project. For database project, go to other languages, and there is a SQL Server group. In there is a SQL Server database project, which is state-based database project. And the ReadyRoll SQL Server database project is for the migration database project. If you have a Visual Studio Enterprise Edition, you have two choices. If you have a community version and a professional version, then SQL Server database project is the solution that you have. Okay, so by clicking selecting one of these, you can start your database project from the beginning. For this demo, I have already created two projects. One is state-based, which is using the SQL Server data tools. And the migration-based project is using ReadyRoll database project. So I will show you how it works. So if you go to state-based project, I already have one source code, which is mytable.sql. Okay, it has a couple of columns, and the column is masked with function default. Okay, so let's do creating one more view here. So one thing that you can do is to go to SQL Server Object Explorer under Projects, and expand the state base. This one is not a live database. It is basically showing the structure of your project on Solution Explorer as if it is a real live database, so which is very good. So what you can do is go to under Views and right-click and click Add New View Context Menu. All right. Okay, I will name it as My View and edit. Good. So you can use an IntelliSense like DBO, which was our schema name, and my table is our table. So from our table, I will call it as a my table, and do empty dot. Then it shows the IntelliSense I can select columns there. All right, empty dot email. Okay, now I save it. Now I'm creating a new table, the view here, I'm sorry. And next step is that once you have a source code written, and then go to the project, right-click, there's a build menu. So click the build, and we'll make sure everything is correct. There is no error for your project. It verifies all those error and everything, and then creates an artifact called the DACPack. Once it is done, then you go right-click on the project, and you can publish and check if your database is all fine there. So if I click publish, it asks you what is the target database connection, and what will be the final the target database name, and all that. Okay, so you can define using connection dialog. You can just select the database like this, and then you can define your publish profile. If you are repeating the same process while you're developing, you can create a profile so that you don't have to repeat this same dialog operation repeatedly. So I already created a profile. So let's look at that here. The state-based publish.xml is the profile. So once you have this profile, then you can double-click and open this dialog and do publish. Then SSDT analyzes, build the DACPack, and analyzes the difference between your target database and DACPack's model, and it produces the script, deployment script that only contains the delta between your project and target database. In this case, we just created a new view, so it will be creating a new view in there. Okay, so if I go to Object Explorer, in this case, it is our test case, and all flavors DB and views. Okay, my view is created there. Okay, so this is the first step that you can do with a state-based database project. You define your database in source code, and then using SSDT's build and publish, you publish the change to the target database. Then the state of target database becomes the state of your project. So that's why it's called state-based. It's the same as how you develop your application. Now, then what is a migration-based? Let me close it. And if you go to ready role dialog here, okay, let me just do that. Okay, so we can import database. The first step is that we have a project and connect to a database and then import the database. Then what it does is that it reads the source database's schema and check if there is any change, and it builds migration script for you. So in this case, it has created all the migration script, and it contains the final deployment script as your source. So that is what happens. So let's do one more thing. Now, I go to my table, and I'm going to add masking for email. Okay, I will do it email format, and I save it. I build it. Okay, and then I'll publish it. Okay, now it is published. So if I go to ready role, then it says, okay, your target, the database has changed. Then it automatically imports the changes happening in the live database and import into your project. Now, it has second migration defined. In this case, it's alter table, and this is the change that we just made and published to the all flavors DB in our dev environment. This is the key difference between the state-based and migration-based. Okay. So once you have all those changes made, the next step is to publish it. Right now, these two projects are in our SQL DevOps visualstudio.com project. So here you can see there are 6 changes in our source code. And we can name it demo change. We can commit and push. All right, so it's being pushed. Okay, this is one cycle of how you can develop a database, either using state-based or migration-based using ready role in Visual Studio 2017. The key difference here, again, is that in the state-based, it uses the source code as the system of truth. So source code defines the state of your database, and regardless of the target database, its version and state, it actually converts your target database into the source code state. Okay, in migration database, the live database is your system of truth. So you're making changes to live database directly, and then a database projects records those changes as a step of migrations. Likewise, we made 2 changes and records the changes in 2 migration steps. So when you are deploying it, it checks the migrations that was recorded in the target database and the migrations that is recorded in the database project. It compares and finds out delta and deploys the delta part of the migration to the target database. One of the key differences is that as a state-based case, the SSDT and DegFX is trying to analyze and come up with a build and suggest the best practice for developers. But it is easy, but it can have a limitation. In migration-based, the developer has to know more detail about the how to make changes in their database using T-SQL, but the developers and ops can have a full control over how you can write the migration script. So there is a kind of a key difference between the migration and state-based. But when it comes to CICD, it becomes pretty simple again. So let's take a look at the CICD part of that. So if I go to VSTS again, I have defined 2 build definitions. Here, one is all flavors state-based CI. So let's go there first. Okay, and if I go to a definition, the same thing as you saw, another build definition, always the first step is get sources. One thing that I want to show you is that I'm using hosted VSTS 2017 as agent, and it gets the source from our project. A key step for building SSDT database project is just adding, I'll show you, MS build. this is the only step that you need to add for the building part. And just to select a solution file or project file in the source control. The other two is common for any build step. When the build artifact is produced, you need to copy this file into artifact staging directory in the agent and publish that back to the Visual Studio Team Service so that the release process can pick up the artifact that was built during this CI process. So here, the artifact that we are producing here is a backpack, which is the artifact form of SSDT project. Okay. If I go back, I'll show you the migration-based build definition, which is a ready role. So to enable this one, easy way is that go to Marketplace and browse the Marketplace here and type in ready role. Then you can install this VSTS the plugin extension, and then I'll show you build definition here. And just to choose the template, ready role template, then all these steps will be populated. The only thing that you need to do is that you just define your SQL Server, which is your live database that you're going to use as a source database to compare your migration step in the project and deployment to target database, and build a solution. All the parameters are already pre-populated through the template, so you don't have to worry about. The last two piece is the important again. So once the artifact is produced, then you can copy it into a artifact staging directory and then publish it so that the release definition and can pick it up and use it. Okay, so let's just try one. So here, let's run this one. I'm going to CUNY build and deploy. Okay, now it is starting. So while it's going, let's take a look at the release definition. So go to Release tab. I have created two release definitions too. One is a state-based deployment, and the other one is a migration-based deployment. Okay, for the state-based deployment, let me show you. Just to select the build definition as artifacts, which is our SSDT database project, and then create an environment. In this case, I just created one environment, which is test environment, but you can add multiple environments and make it as a workflow. So it can be test, pre-production, and production, and you can link up through the approval process or any gated process, like running the test. If test is failing, then you cannot go to next step. Any the workflow task you can define using that technique. So here, it's extremely simple. For SSDT database project-based deployment, just select Azure database. This one. This one works for Azure SQL database deployment, and as well as any on-prem. If your the Visual Studio Team Service agent is running on-prem environment, then the agent can access one of the SQL Server instance within the on-prem environment. And this Azure SQL database deployment works on that environment as well. Or it can work on the SQL Server instance running in Azure VM, or it can work on against the SQL Server instance running on Docker container running in the Azure Container Service. So because, as I mentioned, this task is basically running SQL package under the hood, which is a command line interface to deploy database changes that is produced by database project. So you can just use this task for multiple purpose. And the setup that you need is simply the SQL Server connection information and selecting a backpack that you want to deploy. Okay. So after it runs, it will connect to the, in this case, it's Azure, the Azure SQL Server, and then create a state-based DB. Let's go back to migration-based deployment. I'm going to show you. All right, it's also very, very simple. So in this case, you select the ready role database project as artifact type, and then it triggers deployment to test environment. Let's take a look at. You just go select ready role deploy database task template. Same thing. You select deployment package.ps1, which is artifact that the ready role projects produces as part of the build operation. And then you also define your target server instance name, which is also same Azure SQL Server instance. And in this case, I named it as a migration-based DB as my target database. Once it is executed, then it will deploy the change that was defined in your ready role database project. Okay. So we have one question. Do these approaches handle the case where additional indexes have been created or dropped in the database, i.e. the state of database projects does not match your database project? Okay, so the state of, when you approach with a state-based database development, the system of truth is your source control. So to be successfully adopt state-based database development, you probably need to have a like agreement between the dev team and DBAs altogether. So in most cases, unless it is really urgent to change, you do not make a change directly to the live database. Your change is based on the bulk filing. It goes to the correct dev process of enabling that through the source code, and it gets deployed to your target database. Instead of DBA makes ad hoc changes in live database while developers are using source code, then there will be a kind of drift happening. If there is a drift happening, it is also possible that you can do schema compare between database and project and then pull in those changes, but that is not best practice in state-based database development. While if you use a migration-based development, your live database is always the source of truth. So you can either use the project-based deployment, or you can directly go and change your live database. All those delta will be managed by ready role migration-based database project. Okay, there's another question. Will automatic tuning be the default on new Azure SQL database? I'm concerned that if it enabled, it will make create drop indexes at any time. As far as I know, it is recommended, but it is not on by default. So you have to go. You need. It always requires the user's consent to turn on the auto index management. If you turn on the feature, then first it suggests you all those the index management suggestions, and based on the suggestions, you can do create or drop indexes manually. If you want to make it full automatic way, then you can turn on automatic management. Then it will do automatically. Okay. All right. That was the two questions that we have. All right. So that was today's key session and the demo that I have. If you have any question, keep asking the question. There are a couple of call to action. For SQL Operations Studio that we used in this session, please try it out by going to aka.ms SQL Ops Studio, and you can download it for free, and you can install it on the Windows, Mac, and Linux, and you can start testing and giving our team the feedback. All right, so also if you want to know more about the start developing your app and database altogether, and using APIs and DB, the command lines and all that, go to ak.ms/SQL Dev. It has all the samples and then how to set up for major programming languages and frameworks. So it is very handy to get started. One more thing that I want to point out is that on top of this live session, we have recorded on-demand sessions. So if you go to channel 9 and the connect session, then there are multiple on-demand sessions. One is a full coverage about the Docker and the SQL Server 2017 as an on-demand session. Another one is we have another on-demand session for SSTT, VSDS, and state-based database development session on demand. And tomorrow, we have another training session. Brian Randall will go over in detail about state-based database projects and how in practice. So please don't miss that. It's E104 session. I have a link here. And if you want to learn more about the ready role-based migration-based database project and the ready roles integration with the Visual Studio Team Service, how you can automate while having the full control over your database in a traditional way, in a migration-based, then go to redigate.com/DevOps, and then you can learn more about that. All right, thank you for watching today's session. So if you have any more questions, feel free to send me email, which is erickang@microsoft.com. Thank you.